it's Galfi Galfette.
Today I'm going to tell you about the Arranger track in Cubase, which allows you to organize your project in different ways or test different structures, without having to copy and paste en masse. I've started a project, and I'll let you hear what it's like so far. So I've got several parts. An intro with synth and some drums. A part with guitar, bass and drums. A bass drums break. And a final bass drum section. If I want, for example, to move part 1 to another place, or duplicate it, I'll have to move these other parts. And there's always the risk of making a mistake, forgetting an event or deleting one. So I'm going to add an arranger track, which will allow me to organize my project as I want. To do this, click on the plus button here. If you don't see the arranger track in the list, click on More Tracks and you'll find it here. Or, more simply, right-click Add Track Arranger Track. In Cubase 12, you can change the track's color in the Property Inspector on the left, as with all Cubase track types. Since Cubase 13, the color change is made from the Channel tab. You can also define in Preferences to request a random color for each new track. I talked about this in another video about colors in Cubase 13. You can see that you have different controls on this track. The little E gives access to the track options. I'll talk about this a little later. This button activates or deactivates the arranger mode. If it is deactivated, the arranger track no longer working. This other button toggles between musical mode and time mode. The arranger field here is grayed out. I haven't yet created an arrangement chain. It will become active when you've created at least 2 arrangement chains, and I'll tell you more about this later. This other field displays the block on which the cursor is located. I'm going to define zones corresponding to the different parts of my project. To do this, I'll use the pencil tool. Once you've drawn your zones, you can customize them. To change the name, go to the info line, below name, click and enter the name of your choice. To change the color, you can use the palette tool in the toolbar. I now have the intro, riff 1, break, and riff 2 parts. You'll notice that all my parts appear in the left-hand window, i.e. in the track inspector. To arrange them, I'll simply select them either one by one or together, by pressing Shift plus the mouse left click, and drag and drop them into the upper part of the left-hand window. Here, I'll be able to define their order and the number of times these parts will be played. For example, I'll play the break 2 times before riff 1, play the intro 3 times between riffs 1 and 2, and I'll repeat riff 2 4 times. If I play the project, you can see that the cursor moving to the beginning of each part in the order requested in the left-hand section. What I've created and what appears in the left-hand window is an arrangement chain, which specifies the number of repetitions and the order of each part. When you click here on the little e in the Arranger track, you have access to the options for this track, including the Flatten Chain button. Here, I choose to create a new project, which just the same project with a different number, keeping the Arranger track so I can come back to it later. And then it's magic. Cubase has reproduced exactly what I had defined in my arrangement chain, including the tempo dots. I'll let you listen to the result. Finally, you're not limited to a single arrangement chain, you can create several, for the same Arranger track. In the inspector, you can rename a chain, create a new one, or copy a chain. Here, for example, I create a new part with a completely different order. And then, I can swap from one to the other, to see the difference between my two chains. This makes it possible to test different versions of the same project. If you go back to the Arranger track options, you'll see that you have green bars on the left-hand side. These correspond to the location of each part and the number of times it has been played. You'll also find this information on the Arranger track, the name of the active chain and the active block. When you click on one of these bars, it changes color and the cursor automatically moves to the beginning of the relevant part. On the right, you'll also find the duration of a block in seconds and in relation to the locators.
If you have questions or suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll see you soon for new tutorials.